This is Amelia.
And this is Jonathan.
And we're the Two Broke Explorers.
Today we're going to be starting our episode a little different. I mean, we don't have a normal nature background. What's up with that? And I'm not exactly dressed for exploring.
That's right. Amelia has something that she would like to share with the audience. So please sit back, relax, and if you can, pay a little attention.
That's right. I do have something to share with the audience, and I'm going to apologize in advance for the fact that this video is probably going to take a little longer because of that. And, well, it's going to have some more talking than usual. Plus, I really hope it's not going to be boring to you folks, but, you know, please try to listen through it anyway. So I have something to share with you all. And I'm sorry to disappoint my mom-in-law, but this is not that I'm pregnant. These are my lockdown rolls on my tummy because, you know, I've been comfort eating during lockdown. But I actually have two, what can we call it, conditions, illnesses, syndromes. I'm not a healthy person. I hate to admit it. I try to pretend I'm not, but I'm not a very healthy person. And we wanted to share the information about this with our viewers so that you can understand the context of some of the things that we say in our following videos, because this is going to come up in our following videos. There's just no two ways about that. But what we decided to do, we're going to do this in a bit of a interview manner, because that will help it to flow, help it to make sense, so that I'm not just jabbering all the time.
First question, what are these two problems?
Let me start off with, I have been diagnosed with depression, and I don't mean just having the Monday blues. And I'm sorry to those who think that a positive attitude fixes everything, but positive attitude does not fix this. It is an actual chemical imbalance, a physical problem that affects me, affects my mental health, affects my emotional health. I have also got something called chronic fatigue syndrome. For short, we call it CFS.
Next question, how long have you had these?
Well, my CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome, was diagnosed about 14 years ago when I was only 16. So yeah, that was fun. Not. And my depression, I was diagnosed about 2 years ago, although I strongly suspect I've had it for closer to 6 years. I will, however, at this point say pause and realize I am not a doctor. I am not a specialist. I have no formal training in the information that I am about to share. What I am sharing is me personally as a patient and research that I have done on the internet from sources that I believe are legitimate. What we will do, if you believe that you are suffering from this, or if you think a family member or friend is suffering from this, or just want to know more so that you can understand when you hear someone say they have depression or they have CFS, you can understand them a bit better. We will link some reliable sources for you to be able to get to know this information in the description below.
For those who have never heard of CFS, what exactly is it?
Chronic fatigue syndrome is very much as the name depicts. Chronic, meaning it is long-term. Fatigue, meaning extreme exhaustion. And I don't just mean, you know, exhaustion that you have because you haven't slept properly the night before, or, you know, you've been looking after 2 kids and your husband, and no, it's good and proper exhaustion in that you can't really do much. It doesn't actually matter how tired I am because I can't sleep. One of the things of CFS is that I have extreme insomnia. So no matter how exhausted I am just really tired all the time and can't sleep. So that's chronic, is long-term. Fatigue is exhaustion, and syndrome. From everything that I have learned, doctors basically call anything they don't understand a syndrome, like Down syndrome and chronic fatigue syndrome. So for many years they didn't understand it, they didn't even believe it existed, they didn't know what caused it, and therefore they called it a syndrome. Fortunately, in recent years, they have actually discovered a bit more information, they know a bit more about where it's from, and I can actually tell you a little bit about that. The science behind chronic fatigue syndrome is basically that my lymphatic system, which is supposed to take all the toxins that are supposed to be taken out of my organs, out of my brain, and dumped in the liver or in the kidneys, are actually working in reverse, and the toxins get dumped in my brain and into my organs. And so, my brain is full of rubbish, literally.
Yikes. So how does it affect you personally?
Well, I have good days and I have bad days. Most of our filming will be on good days, as you guys would have seen. Doesn't look like I'm sick, but I have bad days as well. And those bad days normally come in clusters, as CFS sufferers normally call them flare-ups. Generally, for me personally, and every CFS sufferer is unique. It's much like every cancer patient is unique, although fortunately for me, CFS is not life-threatening. For me, a CFS flare-up will cause severe exhaustion, and that can last anywhere from a few days to a few months, and when I had it the worst, it even lasted about 3 years. And by meaning extreme exhaustion, I mean as in I can't get out of bed. Physically, I can't, or it takes all the energy I can muster to get from my bed just to the couch and then back to bed later in the evening. And then as for even having the energy to go take a shower, I muster all the energy I can to go take a shower, and that's it. It feels like I've got a flat battery permanently, and any other important chores, any other important work, well, that just gets postponed to the next day. In addition to that, it causes weird pains in my body. I remember when I first had it, I actually literally drew a little figure of a human body and circled all the pains, and my parents and the doctors were like, this is the weirdest places, and the pains are there for anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 or 3 hours. Now that I understand it better, it makes so much sense, because the weird pains are caused by the lymph collecting those toxins, and where it ought to drain, it doesn't. So it'll be like here, by this drainage point, it'll be under the arms, by that lymph drainage point, it'll be on the stomach. If you think where your lymph nodes are, that random levels of pain and random durations of pain. When I first got diagnosed, I thought I was going crazy. Everyone did, actually, except for mom and dad. It affects my breathing too, where I cough a lot. I hang up a lot, and my body battles to get enough oxygen to actually function. It causes extreme insomnia, which in turn causes more exhaustion. I mean, there are other physical conditions that it causes. Unfortunately, none of it actually shows up, and that's also why doctors call it a syndrome. When you first go to the doctor and you can't explain why you're tired, he misdiagnoses you 9 times out of 10, because CFS is hard to diagnose. Then there's the mental aspect. I get brain fog. It's earlier on I said that my brain is full of rubbish. Well, the rubbish is there. It's if you think of the term brain fog, it's like you're swimming through a marsh with fog. You can't see where you're going. You can't think clearly. You just feel like you're going around in circles because you don't know where you've been. And I can't make proper decisions. When I'm in a full-on flare-up, I can hardly remember when Jonathan has said something to me 2 minutes ago, and he'll be like, but I told you this, and I don't remember it. I don't have that memory. I don't have that clarity. It's awful. Of course, all of this together leads to me feeling quite awful about myself. It takes away my self-image. I feel like a burden to my loved ones. It affects my ability to work a normal job, so I also can't help to provide for my family properly. I do what I can, which is also why I work a lot for myself. My social life is also killed by it, because while I want to do things with my friends and I want to do things with family members, if I commit to something in 2 weeks' time and I have a flare-up, I have to cancel the last minute. I don't know what it's going to be like. And sometimes I have to ask friends to do something on very short notice, and I fully understand when they can't. And I really appreciate when they understand that I can't always do things with them.
But doesn't your depression cause the CFS?
Actually, a lot of people think that. I had a nurse a few days ago ask me that, and no, I believe it's the other way around. The CFS is a very definite physical condition, and I've had the CFS for 16 years. I've only had the depression for between 2 and 6 years. So personally, for me, I feel like the CFS is what's caused the depression.
So what causes a flare-up?
Because every CFS patient has different triggers, because they have different symptoms. They all stem from the lymphatic system, but that's why it takes doctors such a long time to diagnose, and why they have so many misdiagnoses. It took me a while to figure out what my triggers are. I can say my number 1 trigger is pollution. Unfortunately, I live in an extremely polluted environment in the South Durban Basin. Normally, if you live in a city, it's badly polluted, but where I live is between petrol refineries, paper refineries, a sewage treatment plant, a car factory, a carpet factory. There's really bad air pollution. On top of that, cigarette smoke affects me greatly, so does diesel and petrol fumes. So while I do not hate the people who smoke and I respect them as human beings, I do not like cigarette smoke. Secondhand cigarette smoke sends me into a flare-up, so I'll take great measures to avoid that smoke, whether that means avoiding a person, whether that means avoiding an area, I'll do that. Also, whenever we're driving anywhere, I insist, and to anyone else in the vehicles, great displeasure, on keeping the windows closed and keeping the air circulating inside rather than from outside, because all those car fumes, all the diesel fumes, the petrol fumes, they really affect me. I recently also learned that there's pollutants we put in our bodies that affect me. The products that the dentist puts into the body, the anesthetic and the fillings, and it's no fault of his own. That is what is standard that the health departments allow. But the things that gets put into my body when I go to the dentist sends me into a flare-up. So that's my number one big cause of a flare-up. My number two cause of a flare-up is stress. Pandemic worries, work and financial worries, family stress. These all just build up, and it seems like my brain is not capable of multitasking. Like, it can't keep me healthy and handle stress at the same time. So if it gets stressed, it's like, okay, body going down. And then overdoing it. I don't mean working myself into the ground, although I have been guilty of that sometimes. I am a bit of a workaholic, I will admit that. But I really need to listen to my body. When my body starts to say I'm a little bit tired, if I go for a walk or a hike and my body says I'm a little bit tired, I have to listen to it and stop and rest. Then I can't keep going. And you'd think I would have learned that after 14 years of having this stupid thing. But I haven't, and I still suffer from it. Even when doing just simple day-to-day things, cooking or cleaning or just going for a drive or doing the shopping, I have to learn not to push through but to rest. That's why I say in the videos how much energy I've used. That's why I say, if you've got a lot of energy, you can do that hiking route. If you've got limited energy, do this hiking route. Maybe don't carry as much with you, because I personally feel that.
So what can you do to get better?
Unfortunately, neither of these conditions has a cure. It's a management thing. For my depression, I'm on antidepressant medication, which has helped a lot and has made my family's life a bit easier as well. For my CFS, I have been going to a specialist who also happens to be a very good friend of mine. She is a physiotherapist and an osteopath. An osteopath is what I need. She's actually studied CFS and helps me physically through massage and manipulation of the body to drain the lymph fairly often. She also gives me mellow exercises that don't make me outdo things to help me drain it at home. I also spend a lot of time having rest days, which are pretty essential to me. One of the biggest things, and the reason we actually started doing this YouTube channel, is because Jonathan and I have found that taking a day and getting out of the pollution belt for a few hours helps to alleviate my CFS symptoms, and it helps to lift my mood. So it also, being in nature helps to clear out the depression a bit. That's actually a big reason of us doing this YouTube channel.
So this is a very personal subject. Why are you then sharing this with our audience?
It's a part of who I am. So it's going to come up in other videos. There's going to be a day where I say, I don't have enough energy to finish this hike, or turning back. There's going to be times that I mention energy levels in our videos. This gives you a bit of an explanation why. It also tells you why we're going out, and while there are many beautiful budget-friendly places and things to do in the cities, we probably are not going to be focusing much on them. We might do one or two, but mostly we won't. We want to be out in nature, fresh air, less pollution. Also, a very important reason that I'm sharing this is because there are a lot of people out there who, through to social stigma or due to their own pride, which I can agree with because I have also got a bit of self-pride that I didn't want to admit that I had these, they don't get diagnosed, they don't get the information they need, they don't get the help they need. So in a way, this is me saying to those who are also suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome or those who are suffering from depression, you are not alone. You can find enjoyment in life still, even though life is difficult. I know, but you can find enjoyment in life. You are not alone. Get the help you need. Speak to your family. Get the support you need. But I am particularly sharing it on this episode because of the circumstances around the trip that we took. The video that we're sharing with you has a lot to do with my condition.
Hi guys. So now it's my turn in the hot seat. So you've now heard of Amelia's side of the story as someone that's suffering from CFS and depression. And we just thought that you would like to know how it is to live with someone with these conditions. So we've got a couple of questions that Amelia is going to ask me, and I'm going to give you guys an honest answer. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I will put out the good and the bad.
How do these conditions that I, as Amelia, have affect you as my husband?
In a family, a husband and wife relationship, the tradition is normally the husband goes out to work, the wife stays at home to clean the house, make dinner and all that type of stuff. And obviously with the pandemic we are not able to have a situation like that, and we have decided as a family, because of the whole situation, we are not able to do things like that. So I have my own run business and Amelia has her own run business that we make work around it. When Amelia has a flare-up, then I just take over. I make food for the day. I insist that she rests because she does not listen to that. She often overdoes it, and it's not a thing of doing too much. It's just doing more than she has the energy to. And it's a problem that I suspect most CFS sufferers have. Because of that whole thinking, look, I'm not a doctor either, I don't know from other people, I'm just talking about personal experience with Amelia. I suspect that they see other people being able to do so much during a day and they feel bad, and that brings on depression or makes it worse. And because they are feeling bad about not being able to do everything that everybody else is doing, they try and push themselves to do as much as they can, and that is not good. So if your partner or a close friend or a close family member that you have does have CFS or is suffering from depression, remind them that it is not their fault. They did not choose to get this problem. It is something that was brought on them, and they have to accept it, and they have to accept their new limitations. They cannot continue forcing themselves to work themselves into the ground, because that's essentially what's going to happen. Amelia did say that, this isn't life-threatening, but you can't continue to push yourself beyond your limits and not expect to get severe drawbacks.
How do you then personally help Amelia to cope through these flare-ups or to cope with this problem?
When she does have these flare-ups, the easiest way for me to help is to just tell her to stay in bed or stay on the couch and rest. I often tell her, does it have to get done today or can it wait till tomorrow? If it has to get done that day, then I do it. If it can wait till tomorrow, then we'll wait till tomorrow, because we never know. Maybe tomorrow is a better day. We have noticed that with her personally, pollution is a very big factor for flare-ups. We decided that we are going to try and get out as much as possible. We try and get out more often than we can, but due to obviously the pandemic and business constraints, we're not able to get out as often as we would like. But when we can, we do. And we go out for a couple of hours just to have fresh air, to breathe easily, to be able to rest and recuperate. As she mentioned, she can sleep as much as she wants. It often doesn't help. However, spending 2-3 hours in a forest where there is no pollution and just fresh air gives her a ton more energy than any sleep will. So we try and do that as often as possible.
Last question is, what would you like other spouses or supporters, those who have close family members or who have friends that have CFS, what would you like them to know?
It is an uphill battle. It is not easy. Fortunately, I did know what I got into when I did marry her. And as they say, love covers all. And it does help. Just remember that it is not their fault. As much as they need to remember it's not their fault, you need to remember it as well. They don't want to have CFS. They don't want to have depression. They yearn to be normal. They yearn to have the energy that you as their spouse has. They yearn to be able to go running around outside or do the hike that you as their spouse can do, and they want to do that, but they physically can't. If they try to do that, it is more of a detriment to their health than it is a good thing to your health. Just remember that you will have new limits as the partner without CFS, and those limits are unfortunately your partner with CFS's limit. If they are not able to do as much as you want to do, you cannot expect them to do more than what their body physically can. As much as it is your responsibility to make sure that they don't do more than their body physically can, you need to remember you can't force them to either. So leading into this video now, as we mentioned earlier, this wasn't even supposed to be a video. We woke up one Saturday morning and Amelia was coughing really badly, and she had a headache, and she was nauseous, and she was just really not feeling well. And obviously, with us being in the pandemic, we were scared that she had caught the dreaded lurgy.
Yeah, and I was feeling so fraught that day that I just didn't want to do anything. It felt like a CFS flare-up on steroid. It was bad, and it made me feel like just crawling into a corner. And then Jonathan, being the amazing support that he is, gave me one of two options. He said either he's taking me to the doctor or we have to get out of the pollution belt right then and there.
So, needless to say, you know what she chose.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to the doctor. So we grabbed some snacks out of the cupboard, hopped in the car, and off we went.
Yay, road trip! We hopped on the N3 West and at Midmont Dam turned off towards Underberg.
We were looking for forestry. I mean, where else can you find such pure, fresh air? And we certainly found forestry.
We took a random dirt road into the forest. Disclaimer, there were no entry or private property signs. And we would encourage you also to never drive down a road that says no entry or private property. Remember to respect other people.
That little dirt road took us to a gorgeous stream and fields in the middle of the forests, with a herd of cows, sheep and goats, and we decided that was a really good spot to stop.
We were both feeling 100 times better once out of the pollution and into fresh air.
And we certainly were not yet ready to go back home into that pollution again yet. So we decided to explore more.
And that's when we got a little lost.
Although it's not really lost when you're exploring.
And we discovered a secret waterfall.
Yay!
All in all, it was a good day.
And after the waterfall, it was getting nice and late, so we decided to head towards home on the scenic route via Bulwer, Ikopo and Pennington.
If you guys would like to go to any of the places that we visited in this video, we will leave the GPS coordinates in the description. But please remember, these are not official sites, so there are no signboards or anything like that pointing you out to them.
The trip cost us about half a tank of petrol, and we took our own food with us, and there were no entry fees because, well, these are not official parks.
Just a safety warning, guys, these were dirt roads and they are subject to change depending on weather. If it has rained a lot, the road might be a lot worse than we encountered. So if you are not 100% sure that you and your car will be able to drive the roads, rather stick to the tar roads. Also, when we were there was no other people, so we felt perfectly safe to get out of the car and even leave the car unlocked while we were having our picnic. So if you ever get to a spot where you feel uncomfortable, like there's someone watching you, rather just move on to the next spot.
Also, very, very important, respect other people's property. If there are signs that say no entry, respect them and don't go in. Where we went, There was no signs that said no entry. It wasn't technically public land, but there was nothing that said we can't go there. But please, don't ignore signs that say you can't go somewhere. Thank you so much for joining us on this trip. If you enjoyed it and would like a less emotional video to see next time, please remember to like this video and hit the subscribe button.
And then, last but not least, don't forget to ring the bell
Ding, ding, ding.
so that you are notified of our next video. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.